One of the biggest constraints that you're going to find in your company is time and the ability to implement on constraints. Sometimes when things go sideways in your business, you find that you're answering calls and taking care of concerns, aka problems, when somebody else could have done it. There's ways for you to alleviate this. There's items you can put in place to give somebody who's lower on the org chart the ability to answer concerns, questions, and even give money back. So why does this matter to you? That's a fantastic question. I'm Scott Sylvan, coming to you live from Consulting Secrets on a perfect day to talk about business growth, strategies, concerns, and first call resolutions. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento. All right, so I got to tell you a story. Early on in my career, I was a corporate sales trainer, and I would be given tasks. I would be given assignments. And so I would meet with the owners, or I'd meet with the general manager, and they'd say, Scott, we need you to solve this problem. Oh, cool, no problem. Let's figure out what it is. So one of the points of my tasks was our management team is constrained with concerns, complaints, because things aren't going right. What can be done to alleviate this? I said, okay, let me take some time to research what is going on and what the problem is. And so for about a week, I went through all of the recordings. I listened to all the calls. I made lists of all the problems that the CSRs were facing. And then I went to the CSRs and had a meeting and said, hey, let's go through this list. What's missing? Tell me what I'm not seeing. So we added like 3 or 4 things. And then I went behind after the meeting and spent about half a day assigning a value to each one of those problems or concerns. And then I went to the ownership and the management and the managers and said, can we validate these amounts tied to each price? And some of them were adjusted down, but for the most part, they were all spot on. So what we ended up doing was saying, hey, listen, for problem A, which is a complaint about somebody being late, we will give up to $50 off. Okay. For somebody finding, it was for a home service. If somebody has problems and the team destroys something in the house, we'll replace it at value. As long as they could prove a receipt or show us a picture of something similar, we'll buy it for them, okay? And the whole goal of the process was to create this process called first call resolution. And first call resolution meant that the CSR had the ability to take care of the problem, concern, the issue, the worry, the damage, whatever was being called about up until a point. And if it got to the point where it couldn't be resolved, then and only then was that handed off to the next person. So it went CSR 1, which was somebody who was newer. We were trying to get through as many phone calls as we could, and they were all trained on this. They absolutely were trained on this, just so you know. It wasn't just handed off. And then it went to supervisor, floor supervisor, and if the floor supervisor couldn't deal with it, then the CSR manager would have that conversation. If the CSR manager couldn't handle that conversation, it would go to the department manager. And it would never go past the department manager. I'm just going to share with you. It never got to the point of this should go to the owners, because we already knew what the owners were going to say. Just take care of it, right? It's the time value of money at that level of ownership did not make sense for them to have a conversation. So my example may not be your example. You may say, hey, Scott, I want that conversation to come to me. Okay, cool. So you're literally going to draw out a map of all the problems that you're facing. And it's going to be the 80-20 rule. There's going to be a certain problem that you're having and that you're facing. And then you're going to tie a value associated to your FCR, your first call resolution, and say, hey, here's what our people are allowed to do. And then next up, who does it go to? Okay. That's just the beginning. There's a second act to this. You're going to want to take notes on what happens. You're going to want to take a note on who's involved, because what you're going to find is some people are better than others at dealing with concerns, dealing with issues, and they're the outliers. So you're going to want to watch and see, like, hey, what are they doing and what are they saying? How are they interacting? And then what you're also going to want to take a look at in another column is, who are the actors? Who are the bad actors? We're going to label them bad actors in this conversation. And what you're looking for is consistent names that keep popping up, because it's an opportunity for you to coach up or coach out. And what you're going to find is timeline. I've implemented this in quite a few companies. Timeline from implementation to locking this down is about 30 days. You could get, don't get me wrong, you can get it done faster. I'm just giving you the real, it takes about 30 days for this rhythm to get used to it. In 1 quarter, you're going to have data about who is causing the most amount of problems in your business. You're going to have information about saying, hey, here is the problem child, so to speak. And the amount of reduced time managers are being pulled out of meetings in general, and C-level people are being pulled out of meetings, really, really benefits the company and the organization. What you're also going to find is the CSRs that are taking the calls feel more empowered to have those conversations. And there is a confidence that they have in the process. There's a confidence that they get from having these conversations that really benefit your clients. So your job is to go through and figure out, how do I implement first call resolution in my company, in my organization, in my department, and stick with it, because once again, it takes about 30 days to get used to it. And then in a quarter, you are going to have all sorts of data. You got 1 of 3 things to do from here. Just 1 of 3. Find the subscribe button, click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.